This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, and welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel today. And let me tell you, you know what? You get through that goaltending situation last night. Jack Campbell getting pulled 4 goals, Stuart Skinner coming in and pitching a shutout. It was something, and of course, too, there's a lot you can break down in that hockey game. And I think the best way Jay Woodcroft put it is you're not going to win games every night against teams like the Calgary Flames if you go down 4-1. And obviously that's where more or less this whole conversation is geared towards, if you would, in terms of, do you panic about slow starts or do you fix it in practice? And that's another thing Jay Woodcroft said. It's going to be a hard couple days of practice when we get back to it, and then we're going to figure this whole situation out and hopefully be a new look team come Tuesday night. So that said, before we get too far into today's video, it is amazing how fast the first minute of every video on my channel passes to me. Geez, I just like talking and all of a sudden it's gone. But if you're new to the channel, I want you to consider hitting that subscribe button today here on Dolynny TV, just simply put, because that way if you're looking for the videos regularly and you hit that subscribe button, you won't have to look quite as hard. Secondary, you can hit the bell notifications right next to the subscribe button to get notifications when I post. Again, that's not even really my forte. I've got like 3 channel notifications. I know people whose whole entire phone is just YouTube notifications. If that's your whole cup of tea, hey, why not add me to that whole list as well? I would be appreciative. That said, we can talk all day about me. We can talk all day about YouTube. Or we can talk all day about the Oilers and kind of, no, I wouldn't call it overreactions, but kind of. That's right, kind of exactly where we find ourselves is how far is too far when talking about the Oilers' first 2 games. Is, as mentioned in the Daniel Nugent-Bowman article today on The Athletic, trading for Jakob Chychrun an overreaction at this point? Or is getting a Markus Niemelainen into the lineup and seeing what happens a more suitable action, right? That's kind of, and it's all personal choice. Realistically, however you want to run your fandom as an Oiler fan is all personal choice, and that's where, right, that Nugent Bowman article that I mentioned, that's why you're seeing things in the title, is it appears that yes, Markus Niemelainen will be coming up now that Fogel should be healthy for Tuesday. That means we've got our 12 forwards. You send Brad Malone down, Markus Niemelainen comes up due to the comparable cap hit, and away you go. And then obviously interchanging Shore and Broberg as time allows. However, friends, we got a little bit of a situation with our man Philip Broberg. This was mentioned, according to my Bakersfield Condors sources, on the broadcast for tonight's hockey game down in Bakersfield, is the fact that Philip Broberg is dealing with a nagging injury at current, so we might see him stick it out down in Bakersfield for the time being, other than maybe to do the roster swap just for cap hit purposes or whatever the Oilers have to do to fulfill obligations to keep saving cap throughout the season. But I don't know. And as far as things look cemented, if Niemelainen's coming up here in the next couple days, and I know a lot of people were pretty on pace with saying Niemelainen would be up after game 2, it's just a matter now of when that happens, whether that be tomorrow or actually on Tuesday. I'm sure they'd like to fly him in tomorrow, so you may see that move come in tomorrow. But again, back to the overreactions versus proper actions. It's all hockey. It's all up more or less to Ken Holland as opposed to any of us. But I think in terms of going out there and getting Jakob Chychrun, again, I think the nice part about having Patrick the Oilers Fanatic now on YouTube is you can kind of watch each other's videos and pick each other's brains a little bit just in terms of how to look at things. And it is one of those things of you think back, and I like how he always phrases it, that Ken Holland is a very patient man. So again, are we going to sit here and, oh my goodness, the Oilers defense had a couple stumbles against Calgary and Vancouver, we're going to go out there panic trade for Jakob Chychrun right now? That seems like an overreaction. And that's where, again, to Patrick's very good credit, and what I'm very appreciative about having another very well spoken, very well rounded Oilers fan on YouTube, is the fact that, well, hold on a minute. We have X, Y, and Z, and that says it should be unlikely. And for the Oilers too, obviously, if you even did want to make that trade, you'd have to up your trade package compared to what we've been rumored to have been sniffing around offering so far for CHYCHRUN. So again, right, are the Oilers going to rush out and just 2 games in, overreact and do something that Peter Chiarelli would do? Don't buy it at all. And I mean, that's you can sit there and debate that one all you want. And obviously, yes, you can debate the merits that Jacob CHYCHRUN would help the Oilers in many facets of the game. But again, go out there and move the pieces around, and how do you figure that one out? That's the big part. Secondary to that is simply put for the Oilers, with Broberg injured, now kind of the situation becomes you're going with Markus Niemelainen, and this is where you kind of have to start looking at the changes to the roster you're going to be making over the next 2 weeks. So these first 2 games are kind of on an island to themselves. They happen the first week of the season, Wednesday, then Saturday. So there's Thursday, Friday off, Saturday, Monday, or Sunday, Monday, and then you're playing again Tuesday. So these first 2 games of the season, you start a day later than the first couple teams in the NHL. You then have 2 days off after your first game. Then you have 2 days off again, and then you really get things going in gear on Tuesday would be the hope, I think would be the thing. So for the Oilers, maybe just maybe almost a case of over-raring to go. And that's where I think if you watch that first couple of minutes against Calgary last night, is the Oilers were out there on the attack, I think, for the first half a minute in the Flames zone, if my memory serves correct, and then all of a sudden the bus kind of fell apart. But that's where another debate I wanted to have, and just simply put this one here, is it about starting on time, right? Or is it about taking less penalties, making it less easy on the officials to call penalties on you? Because if you're penalized all the time and you do anything that could possibly get you a penalty, you're going to get more penalties. That's a guarantee. And I mentioned that in that second intermission broadcast with Patrick there from Rogers Place on Wednesday, is it's just you don't want to make it easy on the officials to call penalties on you. And at this point, it's no longer a matter in Vancouver's game isolated incident where the Oilers are playing playoff-style hockey against Vancouver and getting called like regular season hockey. It's more like a matter of now you're making a habit of taking penalties, and when the officials are notified of that throughout your game patterns, there's going to more than likely be more penalties just due to human tendencies and biases almost, right? If you as an official, and I really want to speak to the officials on Dolynny TV right now, is if you as an official are going into a hockey game where you're reffing the most penalized team in the NHL, I honestly don't know if the Oilers are at this point or not, but you're refereeing the team with the most penalty minutes, are you not more likely, and especially from my kind of upbringing in Junior B, especially in the jungle of the Northeastern Alberta Junior B Hockey League, is would you not be more likely to call penalties knowing that this team has a tendency to take a lot of penalties just simply because you don't want to be viewed, or you don't want to make it appear that this team's getting it easy tonight despite having this history? That's kind of that's a whole nother debate, and we could have that all night if we really want. But right, that's one of those things. But again, for the Oilers, is what is it? Slow starts, taking too many penalties, bad goaltending, bad defense, bad team play. You can narrow that all down, or do you just try and go out there like Jay Woodcroft said and try and make it an isolated incident? And that would be kind of the key points here for the Oilers going into that game against the Sabres on Tuesday. Is how do you put this? I don't want to put it the way I'm trying to in my head, but for the Oilers is, yes, starting on time. Like I said, what does it look like? That's a debate we could have forever and ever. But more or less, not necessarily starting on time, because that's not what the Oilers should do. They shouldn't be ready to play a game when the puck drops for the first period. The Oilers should be ready to run the other team out of the building when the puck drops in the first period. And that's where, again, the natural evolution, right? I gave you 3 options now as to how games start on time. And for the Oilers, the game should not start on time. The game should be over when it starts and you're taking home the victory. That's kind of my theory based on, well, you know what? I've said a lot of things about Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. This is going to be the next 3 years we get of them, the best we will ever see of their career, more than likely. Why shouldn't they be going out there just like the 80s Oilers back in the day and running teams out of the building at Rogers Place? There's no excuse. And you know what? It's fine and dandy to say, well, we just shouldn't give up the first goal, or we just shouldn't give up the first goal, tie it, give up the second goal, and still be chasing at the end of the first. No, we absolutely, with the weapons we have, and this is where the nice part for the Oilers is, this is not just a defense problem. This is not just a goaltending problem. This is not just a bottom six problem. This is one of those things for the Oilers where top to bottom, everybody should be accountable. When it comes to running a team out of your building, you should have everybody firing on all cylinders, and that includes Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. There shouldn't be that ho-hum start to the game shift that there so often is one out of every two games. Because let me tell you, that first shift against the Vancouver Canucks on Wednesday night was very ho-hum for having who we had on the ice. So again, right, for the Oilers is, what does starting on time look like? And for me, starting on time means the game should be over before it even begins. And on the road, maybe a different story, but at home, honestly, we've seen what Rogers Place can be for the Oilers. There's no excuse to not be running teams out of the building. And this is, bar none, the best Oilers team we've had in the 4 years I've covered them on YouTube. So, again, at what point is it, you know what, we just got to go out there and own this hockey game. We got to own this rink. We got to own this game. And it's got to start Tuesday night, I think. That's number one. And that's where, again, is just, you can hold everybody accountable top to bottom, get them in there, and get that mentality going. Get that win now. It is all for one goal kind of mentality going. And honestly, it don't matter who you start on Tuesday night, because if you go out there and run the Buffalo Sabres out of the building, they shouldn't have even had to break a sweat in net. That's kind of the idea, right? So for the Oilers, there's a couple of things, right? Is what is overreaction versus what is the proper action? And then secondary, what does starting on time look like to you as an Oilers fan? Because to me, if I'm telling you from an Oilers fan perspective myself, is we should not even be giving the other team a chance to breathe in the first period. The boots should be to them so hard in that first period that they're down bad and they have no shot of coming back. And again, right? It's one of those things. We should be beating them up, scoreboard, physically, in the trenches, in front of the net, start to finish, and it shouldn't even be a contest the whole way through. Again, do we have the weapons to do that? I 100% think we do. These are all NHL caliber players on the roster. They should be capable of winning an NHL game start to finish. Folks, I'm Tyson. This is Dolynny TV. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening. I am up on out of here.